I think the early returns on the Jim Harbaugh experience for the Los Angeles Chargers have to be thought of as pretty positive in 2024. Am I right? Like you're talking about a team that won 5 games in 2023, fired Brandon Staley during the season, skipty skip, whoopty woo. They come back next year, you know, not a entire overhaul of roster or anything else, but they finish 11-6 and they make the playoffs. Not bad, right? Like that's the type of progression you're expecting to see when you go make that big name hire, especially with a guy like Harbaugh that has kind of the history and personality associated with him. Like you're not trying to wait 3 or 4 years down the road. You're expecting to, and reasonably so, see instant results. And the Chargers got instant results from him last year. Justin Herbert, under him, and offensive coordinator Greg Roman had his cleanest statistical season. I wouldn't say his best overall by any stretch of the imagination when you think about touchdown passes and yardage and so forth. But from a interception ratio, I think Herbert led the league in fewest interceptions, right? It was his cleanest season. And you could take that to mean whatever you want it to mean. Now, they got their shit kicked in the wild card round against the Texans, and Justin Herbert again played really poorly in a big game. So yeah, there you go. But overall regular season results, the entirety of the picture, you still have to view it as a positive. However, I also counter with, it's one of the reasons I really didn't have any interest in Jim Harbaugh as the Chicago Bears head coach, no matter how much numbnuts Bears fans had convinced themselves this is the right thing. Tell me where you've heard this before. A team winning on the back of a great defense, a run-first, run-heavy offense, minimizing the turnovers by the quarterback. Any guesses? Oh, you know the guess, but you want me to say it. Bears football! And how appropriate it is that a former first-round pick quarterback of the Chicago Bears, former Bears starting quarterback, would know and love more than anything else is precious bloody fucking Bears football! It's largely how he succeeded at Michigan. It's largely how he succeeded in San Francisco. Let's not fucking kid ourselves here. And there's a limit to that. There's a ceiling to that. And that's the ultimate fundamental problem. But anyways, year one, you have to chalk up as a success. But where do they go from here? Well, you saw the Chargers make some moves in the offseason. They signed Najee Harris to try and upgrade their backfield. Mekhi Becton's added to that offensive line. Tyler Conklin brought in as another guy at the tight end position. Brought back Keenan Allen. How about that? You trade him away for a fourth-round pick a year later. You get to bring him back at a fraction of the cost. There you go. Signed Dante Jackson and Deshaun Hand to be starters on that defense. Some notable exits there. They signed Najee Harris. They got rid of J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. Josh Palmer left. Christian Fulton left. Poona Ford left. They cut Joey Bosa, who had been there for 9 seasons, but it's probably time in terms of combination of cap money and overall lack of productivity. There you go. So certainly, a situation where they had some roster turnover. They made some moves that probably fit more of what Jim Harbaugh wants out of his roster. Now, it seemed like they were sitting really good from an offensive standpoint until recently Rashawn Slater goes down with a knee injury and he's out for the season. And then you're thinking in terms of the receiving core, hey, they've signed Mike Williams, bringing him back home until he wasn't because he decides he doesn't want to play football anymore. It's just interesting how all this shit works out, right? But in terms of the NFL draft, they took Omarion Hampton with, the 22nd overall pick. You got him and Najee Harris as kind of your 1-2 combination in the backfield, which is certainly an upgrade over what they had last year. You can like J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, but the reality is the Chargers weren't a great running team. They just like to do it a lot, and they weren't particularly efficient, especially on early downs. And I would presume, at least with Hampton, that that's going to be better. I don't know so much about Najee Harris. I feel like that's 6 in one hand, half a dozen of the other kind of thing. They also drafted Trey Harris, Jamari Caldwell, Kyle Kennard, try to add some talent on that defense, get some young depth on that defense. So now the Chargers prepare themselves for this upcoming season. In terms of their roster and how I look at them, like what are their biggest strengths? Justin Herbert in quarters 1 through 3, especially if Greg Roman takes the governor off of him a little bit. Justin Herbert might not be what you would consider right now, I guess, in the Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson tier of quarterbacks. But he's certainly in the mix of that second tier of the 5 through 8 guys. And if he played better in the clutch, he probably would be a clearly established 5, if not in that top 4. So they've got a franchise guy there for sure. Their red zone defense allowed the fewest points in 2024. That was certainly a strength for them. Defensive standouts, you've still got Khalil Mack, you've Derwin James, Tui Pelotu. So you've got some studs on that defense that can make that defense go. And then aforementioned running back duo of Hampton and Najee Harris. I certainly hope that they don't try to platoon these guys too long and they establish a clear pecking order. And the clear pecking order needs to be Omarion Hampton needs to be running back 1. And Najee Harris comes in as kind of like a thunder complement, if you will. In terms of question marks for this team, it's Justin Herbert in the clutch. Saw it in the playoff game. It was really bad. It doesn't matter if you win 10, 11, 12 games, make the playoffs. If your quarterback and your offense is going to lay that much of a fucking egg, it's never going to matter. What are they going to get in the receiving core outside of Ladd McConkey? What are they going to get out of Quentin Johnston in year 3? What are they going to get out of a 30-plus-year-old Keenan Allen? How thin is their secondary? And like you look at this team and their offensive approach, they were really tight and close to the vest last year. And you could say there were some positives and they won games with it. But yeah, again, at some point in time, you have to put your foot on the pedal. At some point in time, you've got to open shit up. It's not the fucking 80s or 90s any goddamn more. You've got to be able to throw consistently, successfully. And the Chargers just didn't do that consistently enough for my taste in 2024. Will they do more in 2025? Looking ahead to their schedule, I look at the start, and what a good opportunity for the Chargers those first 3 weeks. They've got the Chiefs on that Friday night Brazil game. Then you've got the Raiders on the road in week 2, the Broncos at home in week 3. And hey, if you're the Chargers and you say you want to change your position and go from just being a wild card team to being a divisional champion and being a real threat for the AFC Championship and a Super Bowl, like that's the type of stretch of schedule right there that you got to go out and handle fucking business. You got to beat those divisional teams, get an early leg up, and run away and hide. That's what they got to do. And then you look at week 6 through 11. At Miami, Indianapolis, Minnesota, at Tennessee, Pittsburgh, at Jacksonville. Boy, if you're the Chargers, you're looking at that schedule and you're kind of licking your chops because you're saying, man, there's an opportunity to make some hay. You don't think the Dolphins are going to be very good. The Colts are starting Danny Dimes, need I say more. Who knows what the Vikings are going to be. You got the Titans on the road with a rookie quarterback. You got Pittsburgh with a 40-plus-year-old Aaron Rodgers. You're going to Jacksonville, and they're kind of a mess. What are they going to do with Trevor Lawrence under new head coach Liam Cohen? It's a real opportunity for the Chargers to make some hay. And again, run away and hide in that division. And if they don't do that, shame on them. You got a couple of bigger marquee matchups in weeks 14 and 15. That's Philadelphia at home and then having to travel to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. That's one. You'd love to win at least one of those games, but if you don't, it's probably not the end of the world. But if you can be successful in those 2-game stretch, it's probably a good foreboding of things to come this season. There's a lot of things that I guess in theory point to like, hey, the Chargers could be a threat and a contender this year, but I don't fucking buy it. I don't like the offensive philosophy they had where they were trying to hide Justin Herbert. I don't like the run-first, inefficient running game approach that they had. I think their defense can be had. I'm not saying they're a bad team. I don't think so at all. I still think they're a double-digit win team and they're a playoff team. But I think all this talk of them like supplanting the Chiefs, I look at the Broncos as being a little bit better positioned, in my opinion, to do that. So I think the Chargers will win like 10 games and certainly be a threat to get to the wild card and then, ultimately in that wild card game. Go Chargers! Bolt up!